Take two.
What you said about the like that was really
Welcome to all our comrades around the world to the Socialist Sunday stream.
I heard the music.
Cool. Welcome everybody to the Socialist Sunday stream. We it's a little bit of an early start for us night owls in Europe, but it's a fantastic day in Taiwan with our guest Breadbeard from Softboy Social Club. So welcome with us. Welcome so much.
Welcome. It's great to have you.
Welcome. Hi, folks. Thanks. I'm glad to be here. Glad to talk with you guys, we folks in person, or live.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I can't see your image anymore, Breadbeard.
Mine?
Yeah.
I can see you just fine. There's something.
Sorry.
Yeah,
okay,
I think
it's just
might
me.
be.
Because what would be
Okay,
a leftist stream without technical
You're not.
problems?
Yeah, you're not a leftist stream if everything works properly.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have those PragerU monies to give like a pay for
Breadbeard.
technicians. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
I just wanted to ask you. I don't actually know your like backstory and how you came to come to the left and what made you decide to do a YouTube channel and everything like that. Were you always a leftist?
No, very few people. Well, everyone was born a leftist, but very few people start as a leftist, if that makes sense. Like I think leftist values are kind of inherent to our human nature, if you believe in nature, or human will to work together. But yeah, we get learned differently, and we've got to unlearn ourselves. But for me, yeah, I was a liberal for lack of a better option that was known to me at the time. I like a left-leaning liberal, like a liberal is in the context of like American liberal Republican. But I always would do different kind of like theories, and like I would have thought experiments with my friends and be like, well, what if we just made it where you couldn't have no billionaires, where like once you got to $1 billion you had to give it all up? And I would think of these different ways. I didn't realize that I was kind of thinking in quasi leftist mindsets. I was still stuck in the framework of a liberal mindset. And then a lot of people know that American Johnson from Non-Compete is actually a friend of mine from we knew each other back in the same city in South Carolina. And I had started, honestly, a big part of it was memes. I got radicalized through, but then I he told me about his channel and I checked it out. And then I actually invited him to Taiwan so I could kind of get some more direct info. And since then, that's been my slippery slope.
Oh, cool. I didn't actually know that you and EJ knew each other from before, but that's really, really cool.
Yeah. Sometimes we kind of keep it on the down low because I don't want anyone to think it's like that. I don't know. I'm getting favors or anything, but I'm also not trying to hide it because I'm not ashamed of it, So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's cool though, because I think it's often really difficult when you're first starting YouTube, if you don't know anyone else that's doing it. Everyone around you is always just like, oh, this is really weird, or what are you doing, kind of thing. And so it's good to have some friends who actually want to do it. But it's crazy how many people in day-to-day life I meet that actually really want to start YouTube but don't. I like the video that you did, one of the first ones about why, I can't remember what it was called, but why you should start YouTube or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's
really
that's
cool. Sorry. Yeah, that was one of my like it still is, but that was like one of my first things right off the bat is I really want, and if you're watching, I want everyone to start. You don't have to be a YouTube channel, whatever method you want, of start speaking out and spreading information as much as you can. I think that is one of the most important things we can do outside of direct action, and direct action requires numbers. So this is how we get those numbers. This is one of the ways we get those numbers. So yeah, I don't, and that was one of the, like right off the bat, that's what I wanted to do, is I just wanted more people to get involved, more people start speaking their voices.
Yeah, it speaks volumes, you know, to this this other thing, you know, this hierarchical quote unquote RedTube or whatever, you know, where there's like the big channels and everybody's like fanboying these people, and everything is being like very contaminated with this celebrity culture that it's so bullshit. So you know, when it's like it's like hundreds of us and we being super connected with each other, and you know, and engaging with our audience in good, meaningful ways, you know, not for consumerism sake, you know. I think we're doing it right. We're running away from that bullshit of the big ones. There's always this it really pisses me off that there's this conversation about big bread tubers and small bread tubers, and it's like, oh no, that's replicating the hierarchy of YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
The big ones with a lot of followers.
Yeah, some are. Yeah, I really, something like that, I try to take it on an individual case. You know, there's some very big bread tubers who I think do great stuff, and I honestly don't personally have a problem with them. There's some that I think need to focus more on doing the work and not just, you know, finding ways to collect the paycheck. But yeah, so I think it has to be on an individual basis. For me personally. Yeah.
I hate when people do like blanket statements, and you know, BreadTube are grifters who are only thinking about business, and they're all rich, and it pisses me off.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, I get kind of tired of that stuff, and I'm actually, my last video, I talked about that because a little bit, because I was like, am I a breadtube.tm? I was like, or you know, breadtube TM. I was like, I honestly don't know. Like, I don't, and some people are like, oh, fuck BreadTube, I want to do this other thing. I was like, I don't know what a BreadTube to me is just a term used to describe leftist YouTube videos.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't like sign up. Actually, and I kind of talked about this quickly in my last videos. I actually did have an initiation. I'm one of the only officially initiated BreadTube, which I didn't even know was going to happen. My first kind of live appearance, I was visiting EJ and Luna in Hanoi, and they were doing the Breadcast, their weekly show, and I was out eating breakfast, and he was like, "Hey, come in here." I was like, "What? What's going on?" And I go in there, and he's got like a Mason's initiation, like with a candle and stuff set up. Like, what is going on?
That's brilliant. I love that. Yeah.
But yeah, I do wish people would. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I forgot what I was going to say.
I'm sorry. No, I do wish people would kind of understand that. I do be careful where you kind of place your annoyance or whatever with that. If it's a person who's grifting or you think is grifting or whatever, you know, all right, you take it as you think is appropriate. But as far as like this, you know, BreadTube as a clique or something like that, I was like, I just wanted to help people, dude. Like I'm not doing it for the money. I'm not, you know, I've got like 3 different sources of very small income that I work on to stay alive, and BreadTube is by far the smallest. I lose money doing this channel overall. You know, so I think this is true for pretty much every even the big ones at the beginning, at least, just wanted to, you know, just spread a good message, you know.
Yeah, that's the whole point, you know. Not getting carried
away. So I'm afraid that I'm just afraid. It's not even like for me as self-defense. I'm, you know, part of my whole message is getting more people to speak. I'm afraid people are going to see this and then be like, whoa, I'm not getting fucking involved with that. And I don't want that to happen. I want everyone to start speaking out and making content in some way or another. You know, YouTube's a very accessible way to do that.
Yeah. I think that's partly what we're doing with Ref Team. You know, like a lot of people. Doing leftist content and, you know, coordinating together to do good things. So, you know, we're in this for the change, not for the money. Change is what we get. Like, pocket change is what we get from doing.
We're in it for the change. New hobby t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't understand the general disdain towards a lot of people doing leftist YouTube in general, because like you said, most of the time it costs so much more money to spend on equipment and the amount of time dedicated to it. So it's not like, we're not gaining money from it. And it's hard to gain any kind of clout as well to like actually grow your channel. And also, in general, I see a lot of stuff criticizing the Reddit LeftTube or BreadTube subreddit because apparently. Sorry about my.
It's part of the joke already. It's sorry.
It's always when I'm about to speak as well that the sirens come.
Yeah. Are there that many police going by your apartment, Javi, that it's become a regular joke?
Yeah, every single stream and every time I speak, it's really frustrating.
Oh.
Keep going.
But I live in a slightly dodgy area. But
it's yours. Okay.
Yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah. And yeah, the BreadTube, the subreddit about there being more liberals and whatever. But then I think, isn't that a good thing? Should we not be encouraging more people like with other different kinds of opinions to come on board so that we can, I don't know, I guess that's what we want to talk about today as well, just the more compassion and empathy towards other people who don't agree with us, instead of being like, fuck these liberals, I can't believe they are part of this group, I don't want to be part of this anymore. It's like, I don't know. I mean, obviously, if it gets completely overrun by just sharing liberal content, then, I mean, and then that's, I don't know, then that's probably a problem. But that should be even more reason to engage with it, to spread more of our message and more of our videos.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you just say, if people are coming into your space from a different space with like good intentions, with curiosity, don't be just like fuck off because you believe different than me, even if you know what they believe is I won't say incorrect, but basically like is unfeasible. Then that's the onus is on us to help persuade them, help them understand. That's what BreadTube is supposed to be all about, is spreading good information. And yeah, if you're like just saying fuck you to anyone who might start to come in, then who are we going to get in? Like we're set with our numbers now, we're good. I mean, no, we're nowhere near.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're supposed to be raising class consciousness.
Yeah. I definitely think, though, I have still a lot of internal work to do when it comes to the whole numbers on YouTube thing, because I definitely find that I feel like awkward if I'm, or not awkward, but it's more like, if I talk to this bigger person, like bigger in terms of numbers, like they might just think I'm talking to them because of the numbers, or like definitely being like, oh wow, they're this person on LeftTube, I can't, like, I don't know, feeling like I'm not as good enough or to talk to, I don't know, just all this bullshit that you kind of, and also thinking about my channel, like, I really want to get to 5,000 subscribers or 10,000 subscribers, which isn't like just motivated by like, I don't know, bullshit metrics. I do definitely want to like grow, obviously, because it means that the message can get out more. But still, I think I have a lot of work to do to dismantle these kind of, ways of thinking for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. And none of us are perfect. Anyone who says they are the perfect leftist is probably is the one you should be afraid of. We're all working to be better people and to understand each other, or at least I hope you're working on it. If you're content with it, you're one of the people who needs to be working more. But now I'm getting it. I was gonna say something and I forgot what it was. I remember. Thought Slime actually had a great like little Twitter thread that he did long ways back, but he was like, something important to remember, there's a lot of these big breadtubers, and he was specifically talking about himself, this is not a meritocracy. He gets all the times like, oh, he's big because he deserves it, or well, he does deserve it, but it's not specifically because Thought Slime is bigger because his content is just better than everyone's. It is amazing. I love it, but this is not a meritocracy. Certain mannerisms or things might key into the public better than another person's, it doesn't make the other person's methods any less good or important. And also it could just be flukes completely out of their control. He could have just gotten in at the right time. I was lucky enough to personally know someone that I could talk with and get some information and a boost to get started. So you can't just go on the numbers and say like, oh, I'm not doing a good job or something like that, or they're a better YouTuber or better leftist.
Yeah, and most of the time it corresponds with your level of privileges, if you're white or you have a certain accent or come from a certain country, if you have the privilege of having an education to be able to talk about certain things, etc., able-bodied, attractive, etc. So yeah, absolutely, it's not meritocratic at all. Or like you said, just like one viral accent. Video. Yeah.
How have you people not let Javi blow up yet? How's that happening?
Yeah, I know.
I'm just kidding.
Javi, I'm so sad that you're not sick this week. Your accent last week was just so beautiful, even more beautiful.
I was like, what kind of take is that?
The deep.
I'm so sad that you're not ill.
The deep voice.
Yeah, sorry,
I had this punk rock show when I was screaming my lungs out to make myself understood the whole evening. So the day after, I was like completely beaten up. I was talking with a sexy Spanish accent and a low voice.
It was so beautiful.
But yeah, if you take it out of context, it's like, I'm so sorry you're not sick this week.
Yeah, I probably should have clarified it.
It's fun.
Back when I used to smoke cigarettes, like if I was out on a heavy night of drinking or something, so that's usually when I would smoke. And if I smoke like a lot of cigarettes at the end of the night, I've got like this raspy voice, and I kind of wish I could do that without killing myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Breadbeard, I was also curious, like, what brought you over to Taiwan? Is it just Taiwan, or did you go to like other places as well? Because maybe it's just a bad stereotype that I have, but whenever I've met people from the US, and I worked in the US for a while, and no one seems to really move anywhere. No one seems to move out of the country that much. It seems like it's very uncommon for people even to travel, which probably is as a result of like not that much holiday time and also money, and the US is far away from a lot of stuff. But so for you to leave it must be
so I moved to Beijing actually in China 10 years ago, and when I left I was horrified, not horrified, but I was just not like I think they were bad or something like that, but like I didn't know what to expect. I was super anxious. But yeah, I think it's very ingrained in America. For one thing, it is kind of an island. Land-wise, we can go to Canada or Mexico, and we're currently trying to build a wall up against one of those. So we were isolated, and to go travel, it takes a long distance I got to go over an ocean to do it, versus like if you live in Spain or you live anywhere in Europe, you can go somewhere for breakfast, depending where you're at. So that's a huge part of it, is just physical, geography. But also, I think there is this like mindset of like this mysterious out there, that this like, you see on the news and you kind of understand how they are, but like the idea of actually going there seems like going to outer space to a lot of people. Like, I know for my parents, at least, like I've been trying to get them to visit me forever, and it almost seems like they shut down when even the concept comes into their brains. So I think that's definitely a big part of it. I left. Go ahead.
It's a big leap when you go live abroad, and it's like everything is like terra incognita. You don't know what you're gonna find, and it's a little bit scary.
And the media as well in the US, it seems as if it's so focused on how bad so many other countries are and how US is the best. And it probably makes everyone so terrified of other countries.
No, absolutely. It does a lot of that. So even the people who are like they don't necessarily believe. Like maybe they like, you know, you've got like the liberal left who are like, they hate Fox News and stuff like that. But still, that's kind of a lot of that's the only information they have about a lot of these other countries. So even if they're like, they hate this news source, it's still their only exposure to what it's like outside of the US. So they're still kind of using that to base their idea of the outside, you know, outside world, outside of USA. And then it makes it kind of scary. Yeah, it's and which I, you know, that's a form of othering. It's like an internal othering.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, what made you decide to go to Beijing and Taiwan?
The economic collapse, really. I was a photographer. I did advertisement, and advertising was one of the first industries to just get decimated in the economic collapse. You know, companies just couldn't afford to pay advertisement. They would use some old footage they had or something like that to build commercials and ads. And so, yeah, I took up a job delivering pizza to try and make ends meet. And then I got 2 tickets in a row for not coming to a complete stop at a stop sign, like 100 meters from my house. And that caused me to lose my pizza delivery job. And I was just like, fuck this. I'm leaving the country.
God.
On the other side of the planet. So, yeah.
Damn. Wow.
Go big or go not home.
It's the capitalist system that is totally not like a feudal system. Not at all. No, it's not feudal.
Exactly.
What do you mean? No, it's not feudal at all.
Yeah.
It's not feudalism.
Yeah, I guess that maybe that was one of my first truly anti-capitalist thoughts. Was just like, if you're in work, I'm just going to leave. I'm just going to get the fuck out of this. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No worries.
No. I was just going to ask. And how did you to like get to where you are in terms of that? Because the thing is, I feel like even so many leftists, even if they have a lot of like the right kind of like theories and everything like that, a lot of people still end up reproducing a lot of these types of mentalities. So I think that's really great that that's something that you are able to do. So just curious how you kind of came to get here, basically, and why this is something you want to focus on so a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've always been kind of a softer person. Like even as a child, I would always shy. And this may be why my family, like especially my mom and my sister have very like they had some hormone imbalances, and they would lash out a lot of the time, and I would always like shy away from it. I was never good at confrontation. But growing up, I you know, I was very toxic. I you know, I was a part of the problem. Like pretty much every man is somewhat still in that mode. You know, no one's completely deprogrammed themselves. But I was very much, you know, I made horrible jokes and would treat people and, you know, women unfairly, and but I didn't want to be that way. I didn't realize that I was the problem at the time. And I don't know, when I started to get more into politics in general, like even when I was a liberal, I really wanted to kind of dismantle these things in myself, because I don't know, it just seemed to me like oh my God, am I actively hurting people? Like I don't want to be that person, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. It is, and there's like a big difference in these things. Like when we do all kinds of analysis, right? Whether it's like the neoliberal mindset or the sexist mindset, toxic masculinity, and so on, which is like we need to do like an individual deconstruction because of the internalized bullshit that we have in our heads, and at the same time, we need to analyze the structures, the bigger system, which is kind of the problem. And it's like so insidious. It colonizes our minds, and we think we're not like I don't have toxic masculinity in me, for instance. And you go out there convinced that you don't have it, but you still reproduce those bullshit, behaviors, thinking you're doing the right thing. And
absolutely, like
yeah.
No, because I've referred to myself as a feminist for time when I would on a picture so hot or something without like it's okay to, I'm not saying you cannot comment at all on someone's looks, but like that's the first thing I would want to comment on a picture or something like that. And like I didn't realize, like, wow, I'm totally not living up to the present,
Yeah.
Yeah. And even I identify as a woman, and I even find myself really reproducing so many toxic types of like attitudes towards other women and men as well. Kind of, I don't know, it's really hard even to dismantle it, like feelings of competing subconsciously with other women, or valuing women primarily on their appearance first of all. And so much of it is so subconscious and so ingrained that you didn't realize you're doing it until you really sit down and think, wow, I need to like dismantle, trying to dismantle a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, and it's also, I think, I urge everyone to kind of take an analysis of yourself, sit back and think about your actions and maybe find it yourself, because that's going to help you a lot more. Because it is one of the reasons why it's so hard for even like well-meaning people who really are trying to do right by people they could harm, is it hurts when you're told, oh, remember how I said it'll go to sleep?
Camera.
Yeah.
I think a second. Let's see. Come back to life. Come on.
There you go.
I hope this works. Did it come back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It hurts to be told that you're hurting someone. Like I know I get a little defensive when I'm told I'm fucking up. Even now I try to overcome that and listen anyways. But it's like, hey, you're saying some bullshit. And when someone tells you that, for a lot of people, it kind of hurts the ego, and your immediate reaction is to be like, no, I'm not, you didn't understand, or something like that. So I guess two things I would say is, one, listen when you're told that. Not everything. Like if a TERF told you that you're doing something wrong on turfy grounds, then, of course you don't listen to that just because they're a woman. But listen and before you make your judgment. And then, but even before that, I would definitely urge everyone to kind of take some stock of yourself and your own actions regarding any people that you could be accidentally oppressing or othering or damaging. Because at least that way it's coming from yourself. It's easier to take note of it and accept it.
Yeah, and also for the people trying to correct that thing, for us, like when we're trying to face, it's not the same having someone like say overtly, being comfortable in that toxic masculinity or that racism or that classism, and enforcing it actively, being like a proper right winger, like a proper let's say a reactionary, a proper bigot, right? And it's not the same that someone who is trying but has the internalized bullshit oppression inadvertently and is trying to do good but failing, and you cannot approach all those different say categories and everything in between in the same way, because you gotta bash the fash. That's the way it goes, no mercy. But to people who are screwing up, it's strategically sound to have some patience, because you're gonna dig them out of that hole and they're gonna become your comrades. Then we're gonna increase in numbers. I'm not even saying to like do it out of kindness. Just thinking about it like from a very strategic standpoint, like very selfish to the cause, even selfish to the common, which is like absolutely contradictory.
Very on a practical standpoint. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I don't know, but it happens with all systems of oppression. I would say that they're like internalized in all our. We're all colonized minds in that sense, if you know what I'm saying. So you know, it's not the same deconstructing a quote unquote ally who is fucking up than actually facing a bigot. Doggo, be in the house.
Sorry.
No, absolutely. It's fantastic. Very, very welcome.
What are you going off about? Sorry.
No worries.
By the way, we're shooting
I've
this
got my own
on...
thing going on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're sharing this on International Women's Day, which is a celebration of feminism as a movement that got started by brave women, and that hopefully it'll belong to everybody, to the whole of society eventually. I think we're getting close to that, in the way that feminism benefits all of us, right? So I'd like to ask the woman in the room, please enlighten us.
Elaborate on women's issues in general.
Absolutely.
I guess
Just cover it all. I'll give you 1 minute. All of
I guess there's just so much. I think, you know, women disproportionately face are victims to all types of abuse, sexual violence, emotional, physical abuse, much more than men are. There's such a huge gender pay gap in general. Women are often not given certain jobs because of their sex across the globe. You know, there's so many women who are forced into sex work, forced into subordinated and exploited in so many different ways. 80% of women. 80% of the workers in sweatshops are women, you know, working for $1 a day. Across the globe, even in Western nations, it's becoming more and more common for us to decide what women are allowed to do with their uteruses. And then, of course, women's issues really intersects with so many other issues, such as race and the LGBTQ plus community, and other types of marginalization, which often makes it much more women face multiple different forms of discrimination as a result of that. I mean, there's just so many different things. You know, you're often expected to be more quiet and softer, and I think it's a very deliberate strategy to keep us subordinated and not fighting for more rights or fighting to create change. It's almost like a new form of a carceral system around us, because we don't need the prison to keep us in check. We've kind of got our minds are imprisoned already by this constant need to keep up with certain beauty standards and police how we act all the time and not be too loud or too angry and stuff like that. And I think that it all combines so much to keep us, subordinated. We're often dependent on men, or very just subordinated and exploited in many different ways. But I also think it's so important to acknowledge the ways in which that men are also harmed under this patriarchal system. It's not about men versus, we're both mutually oppressed groups. And women do face disproportionate amount of discrimination under this system. But there are various ways in which men are affected, which I'm sure you guys can talk about more, but a much higher rate of imprisonment, higher rates of suicide, lack of emotional support. You're forced to be strong and masculine, and all of these types of tropes of what it is to be a man can be really toxic. I mean, I'm sort of speaking for both of you. I'd love to hear more of your experiences and how you feel like you are harmed under patriarchy, or men in general are harmed under patriarchy.
Well, as the International Women's Day, let's talk about how men are hard. But no, it is toxic masculinity hurts everyone. It also gives men and male presenting people privileges, or at least people who fit the masculine mold that's presented. It gives us privileges, but it also harms us. For example, I'm actually planning on doing a video. I'm still planning to do a video on like male sexual assault and how it's portrayed in media. And then who was it? Oh, Cara from Transnational. Go check out her stuff. Clued me in on Pop Culture Detective. Did an amazing 2-part video on it that basically had everything I wanted to say in it.
Yeah,
but I'm still
that
gonna make
video
one
is
anyway.
amazing.
I want to get more people.
Yeah.
And I'll probably even put a disclaimer at the beginning, like, "Hey, just go watch theirs. It's way better." It definitely, like, there's this idea of you got to be tough, and if you are violated or if you are taken advantage of in any way, you're not allowed to feel hurt by it. You have to suck it up, and you have to be, a man. And it's at least in America, but probably around the world, there's the joke of like I hear banjos cover up your butthole or something like that, talking about Cape Fear with when in the movie, in the book, a man was raped. And as a Southerner, I don't like that. First of all, it implies Southerners are all backwoods rapists. But also, like, why is that rape joke okay? Like, rape jokes are not okay in any sense. I don't care who the victim is. With like this Harvey Weinstein thing, I get why it doesn't sting as much. I understand why it should, but I understand why it doesn't. But there's all these, like, now he's going to get what he did to people in prison. It's like I want him to have justice put upon him. I want him to have to. I don't want to say have to pay, but I want justice served. I want the women to feel that that he's hurt have been at least somewhat, not even close to rightfully justified. But I'm still not into the whole prison rape jokes. That's the whole point of breaking down rape culture, is to break down rape culture, not only who we think it's all right for.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like this whole profile of the alpha male is a little bit sociopathic. Like, okay, maybe that's a little bit of an ableist approach. But let's say it lacks empathy, it's predatory, it's very damaging for everybody, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's just this, anything is all right as long as it's for my team. And I'm not interested in teams,
Unless it's teaming up for the revolution. Just kidding.
But yeah, I'm not interested in teams. Even if I was to come to the conclusion that the left was actually wrong, I'm not going to. Then I wouldn't stay on that team. And we've got to hope that people are not thinking that they have to stay on a team anyways, because if they're on the liberal team, then you're assuming that they can never change teams either. But yeah, it just saying like this stuff that we speak out against is okay as long as it benefits us is toxic. It's just dangerous.
The I got mine, fuck you type of attitude, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But
more back to the.
It is very reproductive of the capitalist system as well. Like dominance, establish dominance. That's a fucked up. That's a fucked up thing to digest. Like when they impose on you that role, you establish dominance. That's the fucking piece of shit of argument that they give us. Like what is supposed to be a man, a manly man, a manly man. Exhausting.
Mentality has been completely disproven. Like because it started with wolves, there actually are no. In a naturally occurring environment, there are no alpha males. And it's the actual person who coined the term and wrote a book about him, was what they did is they were introducing other wolves into a new pack, into a new family. Oh, again.
There you go.
But yeah, they were introducing, and then there was this conflict because it was strange wolves coming in. They didn't know them, and there was conflict, and they thought they had to dominate over each other because for protection. But when there was a naturally occurring pack, there would be leaders that would kind of take the way. But it was usually parent, like they're training the pups how to fend for themselves and how to do their own things. So even the whole basis of alpha is blown out of the water. And we're saying it's okay to dominate over other people, you know?
Yeah.
Did I lose everyone?
No.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, we were listening very, very intently. It is like it is material like for a video or a theme or something, like how right-wing rhetorics try to justify themselves in biology, and how that biology is totally infected from the right-wing rhetorics of the authors of those.
Absolutely.
You know, how those rhetorics, how those
actually,
narratives are imposed on animals from other species that have nothing to do with us, Homo sapiens, people who are like.
Yeah, and even specifically, we are not that related to wolves, so it's kind of a misnomer to even go on that. We're more related to apes and bonobos specifically, which have shown to have a very hierarchalist hierarchy situation and system where they all work together.
And rub against each other constantly, which is fantastic.
Well, that's what we do for. If everyone rubbed up against each other, we'd probably all be sick. Retro.
That's something I'm always thinking about. Is like how are we more related to bonobos, but we're always behaving like chimpanzees?
Toxic mindset. Yeah. I mean, all of this it's I don't want to say like the natural path or anything like that, but I think like the like I was saying before about, you're born kind of the natural human yearning is to work together and not to harm others. But at whatever point when civilization started to grow, get started, when it started to grow, some people realize that not everyone is on board with that. Some people are assholes, and people started to take advantage of that, and they just fucked the whole thing up. It's just grown from then. We've always thought that we have to have some type of hierarchy or some type of a dominance, Yeah,
and I think your points are really important that you said about how capitalism and patriarchy intersect, because I don't know how we're actually going to dismantle capitalism without dismantling patriarchy as well. And I'm not saying that one is more important than the other or anything like that. And obviously other systems like racism are also important to dismantle. But the patriarchy is inherently based on hierarchy and domination and individualism and competition and all these tropes that are constantly fed into us our whole lives. And so I don't really know how we're going to dismantle capitalism without simultaneously dismantling these types of oppressive systems, because I don't know, you can't. It's almost as if a lot of people have this idea that as soon as we get rid of capitalism, naturally everything else will fall into place. Everyone will suddenly be liberating animals. Everyone will suddenly be non-racist and non-sexist and everything like that. And I just.
I mean, the positive thing is that it's so many of us that we can attack all of the fronts at once, because it's a lot of us. Yeah. It's a lot of people.
Yeah, and that's why a diversity of tactics is good too. People working on this front, people working on this front, and honestly, that's one thing why I kind of get annoyed. I understand where a lot of people are coming from, but I do kind of get annoyed when people are like, I get this actually more often than I care for, is like, you're not specifically talking about revolution in your videos, or you're not, if I don't make a video that specifically talks about like Molotovs and hand grenades, then I'm, not doing it right. There are multiple fronts to be tackled.
Yeah.
Even, when I've done streams with Mexi and talked about kind of self-healing and working on yourself, that's important too. You need to be in a good mindset to do your job, and just like what I was talking now about kind of detox of, deprogramming yourself, absolutely important. So you can be presenting these values accurately. You don't want to be hurting people accidentally while you're trying to do good things. And with all these fronts, I think like you're absolutely right. Like there's this huge thought that first we dismantle capitalism, and then everything else is fixed. Capitalism, I do believe, is like the thorn, the root cause of a ton of this stuff. But I see it the other way. I see working on all these fronts destroys capitalism. Don't just put all your eggs in that one basket. And by the way, what is destroy? That's not even a front to me. Destroy capitalism. That's like kind of like the goal. That's not a front. That's not just, that's like step 1, collect underwear. Step 2, profit. Like what does that goal mean? It's an abstract idea of just destroy capitalism. Destroy toxic masculinity, destroy patriarchy. Those are things you can start by working on yourself, and then you can start by spreading information. You can start by defending people when you see it happening. Destroy otherism, or I don't want to say you can't destroy violence against like indigenous specifically yourself necessarily one-on-one, but if you see someone being harassed or something, defend them. And you can spread information that you get directly from oppressed peoples. Do all these different fronts is how people gain class consciousness, and how people say, yeah, that's a good goddamn point. I'm fucking sick of this. And that will destroy capitalism if we're all on the same page, or if we're all fighting for these causes, instead of just saying destroy capitalism, then racism solved.
Yeah, and people often comment on my videos when I've talked about doing the internal work, like, oh, this is a distraction from the real work, or the real fighting, etc. But they're not mutually exclusive. I don't think it takes huge amounts of time necessarily to be doing internal work. It's more just how you go about your daily life, and like just being conscious of how you're thinking about things. And maybe for some people it would take a lot of time to dedicate specifically to it, but I don't feel like one means that you're not doing the other. I think that
something about,
matter of fact, I would say you go ahead.
No, it's just something about walking and chewing gum at the same time or something.
Oh
yeah.
You could, what if I told you could walk, chew gum, and punch a Nazi all at the same time if you wish?
My milkshake approves.
And it also brings all the boys and girls and impies to the yard. No, but not only is it we can do both, is they help each other. When you work on one of these fronts, it promotes and works to erode the other fronts.
Yeah, and I bring this up all the time, but I think it is such an important point. It's just that I feel like patriarchy is such a huge problem in leftist spaces in general, and I've just been getting so frustrated by it. The constant like infighting and competition between different types of who has the best theoretical ideas, who's the most intelligent, who can get out on top, who can, I don't know, and it's not a very welcoming, nice space to be in. It seems more like people are just trying to replicate these hierarchies, these competitive individualistic systems in these spaces, or what Mexi's talked about before about the capital R revolution. It's always about let's go fight, let's go take up arms, etc. And then most people I know are not going to want to engage in that kind of a movement. That like people see that or come to these spaces and they're just like, well, I don't want to be part of this. And it's completely counterproductive to our movement. I'm not saying never talk about, never have a debate, never discuss different theoretical points of view. I'm not saying never talk about a capital R revolution, but just the extent to which this dominates these movements, at least the spaces I've been in. Maybe a lot of other people have like completely different experiences. Maybe I've just been particularly unlucky. I don't know, but
I've definitely had the same experiences. I do think, I'm pretty sure, especially online. Well, actually, especially in offline as well, there are more wholesome, well-meaning, understanding, open to these ideas people and leftists, but they're not the loudest, so we hear a lot of the loud ones, and it's hard to ignore them, and it makes it seem like the whole place is toxic, and those need to be addressed, and it's super frustrating and annoying, and yeah, I definitely do not like all of this infighting and posturing, but I do think that, just when I see a lot of these streams, I see it right now when the people talking in the chat who are very supportive of each other, I think that is the majority of the movement, and I'm very happy about that. But
I mean, and those loud people, they'll be like 13 next year, and they'll be a little bit more reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I absolutely think that actually does play a factor in it. I made a video about how to not be a dickhead online, or how to not be a D**K, and I've gotten a few comments. One from Camazotz, who was saying, I was really disappointed in the lack of ducks in this video. But one of the points I brought up is, yeah, there is, and when it comes to online, there is this massive age difference. So there's things to think about. You've on both ends, really. You've got these older people who are set in their ways and don't understand what the younger people are saying, even older than Javi. But you also have
like 500 years old or something.
You even looked like Syrian Giddis right there. But then there's also, you've got you've got 13-year-olds on there, and not that they don't have the right to say what they want to say. If I think about what I was when I was 13, I didn't have a complete grasp of everything, and you picture, like, if you're in more importantly, if you think they understand the knowledge, just picture yourself in a room with like a 13-year-old, and you're like just sending off these hot takes and fuck you and stuff like that. Think about if they were you were sitting in a room with a 7th grader. Like, are you gonna be like, fuck you, kid?
Yeah.
Go play with your games. Leave me alone.
Well, I play with my...
I think Alana on the chat said something like also that is like worth considering, like saying that too much individual introspection is counterproductive. Like, yeah, I mean, I think what we're saying here is, like, why not both? Let's do our deconstruction on our me time, and then have like a lot of us time with other comrades, and build the social part, which is super important as well. I mean, both.
Yeah, and like if people are just constantly just going into themselves, sure, that's a problem. But as just like with anything, if you're just putting all of your energy into one thing, you are neglecting something else. But also, individual, yes, if you're just constantly questioning yourself or doubting yourself, yeah, that can do damage to yourself. But as a movement,
but we're leftists. We question and doubt all the time.
That's our job. T-shirt number 2 for Javi. But I feel we're very far away from being in danger of being too introspective. We've got some wiggle room there. So on an individual case, yes, if you're just constantly internalizing, going into yourself, be careful. And that's not what I mean. I just mean you need to stop and take stock and check in on yourself. But as a movement, as far as spreading that message, I think we could do with more of that.
And really, yeah, go for it.
And I also just want to say it's also kind of important to mention, I think, that we don't mean advocating for, a lot of new agey type of forms of self-help or self-care or introspection and stuff like that, which can often be really, really problematic or very much focused on how to work on yourself or take care of yourself to promote consumerism or promote more more capitalist ideas, how to be a better version of yourself so you can be a better capitalist citizen or achieve success in terms of money or corporate job or whatever. So yeah, I mean, probably that kind of goes without saying, but I think a lot of the time if you talk about internal work, people immediately assume that kind of stuff, which I think is definitely a problem. And I think that's kind of the problem as well, because I, for a really long time, completely rejected self-help and self-care and anything like that, because I just immediately assumed that they were inherently like capitalist things to do. And I was always like, no, if I do these things, that means I'm just conforming to the, because the only representation that we see of self-help and self-care tends to be the very much pro-capitalist, Tony Robbins, talking about how to make millions or think and grow rich and all these types of things, or self-care as buying yourself new clothes or whatever.
That's why it's so insidious too. Like, because it's the same thing with like Jordan Peterson. A lot of the stuff they're saying is good advice for just for your general life, but they market it as this will fix everything and you're the problem, which is what makes it so insidious, because a lot of it is in general good advice. If you are, you should clean your room if you're not in like a place where you can't physically and mentally, but that's also still not going to fix things. It's not going to fix everything. It is helpful, it's good to do, but
it's a start. It's like, but what do you do? What do you do then, right, when you're done with your room? That's what we're trying to deal with. But it's also true that you cannot come to the collective building of our spaces with some toxic baggage on you, because it's going to affect the collective.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, it's been so liberating to completely reclaim the more radical forms of self-help and self-care. It's actually changed my life so much for the better since I've kind of realized that it's possible to do these things without it being toxic or just conforming to capitalism or individualism. And I think, it would be great if more and more people could be working to reclaim these spaces, so that we can take it back from where it's been co-opted. It seems as if a lot of the time, as soon as something becomes co-opted by capitalism, we immediately just give that territory to the capitalists instead of fighting tooth and nail to get it back. Yeah. Same with spirituality and
things. Definitely. I have a question for you both. Going back to the heteropatriarchy thing. Like, what do you people think a good positive say set of behaviors or set of what could we replace these toxic fucked up roles of man and woman in your personal cases? What can we replace them with, or what are we working to replace them with that would be like constructive? And I'd like to for you both to do the let's say show your idea and see how much they coincide.
This is maybe double blind. We'll write them down and then show them at the same time.
That would be awesome if I got it prepared, but we're just chilling, so go for it, go crazy.
Kathrin, I think you would be more appropriate to start off with that then.
It's kind of a hard question to answer, I think, but I guess just, do you mean like characteristics? Like, obviously everyone being completely equal, women not being valued based on their appearance or having to conform to certain tropes of being feminine, and men not having to conform to masculine traits.
Let's say what would you want to get rid of, and what would you want to nurture? what would you want to grow in your role as a woman, or how you feel you're built as a woman?
Get rid of, I guess, everything that we've spoken about before, you know, the toxic beauty standards, gender pay gap,
The oppression,
toxic,
right?
yeah, repression, exploitation, things that you're forced, all these roles that you're forced into, et cetera, et cetera. And I think in terms of what I want to build, I guess the opposite of those types of things where, yeah, valued based on yourself as a human being rather than on your appearance or on like the extent to which you conform to these things, no longer feeling like a sexual object all the time, or just objectified in general, just I don't know, feeling like deeply in every space, whether regardless of what genders are in the room, that everyone is radically equal and that gender isn't even a thing anymore. It's not like, oh well, that's a man, so he must be like this, or this is a woman, so be like this, you know. But yeah, I guess it's interesting because I need to think about it a lot more, exactly what I want. But I think that's a really beautiful question, because I think especially, I'm always thinking about what I want to get rid of, but not actually focusing as much on like, oh, but what would this look like? What would this kind of world look like if we achieved that? And I think, yeah, that's such an important thing to motivate us to create change.
Feels more like an exercise than a question, right?
Yeah. Well, that's good. I think it is kind of a thought exercise.
Yeah, but yeah, sorry if that's kind of an inadequate answer.
I thought it was great. I took your question as kind of a thought exercise. It's kind of a, you know, what does that even look like? I don't think there is a right answer for me. But more specifically on gender roles, not because we've already talked about oppression, and obviously, like, I don't want anyone to be oppressed for anything. It's a hot take. Oppression's bad. Ooh, that's pretty spicy. Ooh. But as far as like gender roles go, I don't believe a lot of these roles are were invented by patriarchy. Maybe most all of them. But like, if this is like, to say that all of them are bad is kind of like saying that we shouldn't identify as any of them. And like, someone identifies as a woman, they like these certain traits, and that's absolutely fine. If they say I'm a woman, call me a woman. If someone says I'm a man, call me a man. There's nothing wrong with having those traits. So I'm not saying we should all be like, perfectly genderless cyborgs.
I could go for that. Sorry, I found it very appetizing.
That's like yeah, that's some neophyte stuff there. There was a Star Trek episode. There was a Next Generation episode that everyone's got a different take on it, and that was kind of the purpose. They left it open-ended, but yeah, it was like Riker got involved with a planet that banned genders, and they're all genderless, and one of them was like, no, I want to be a woman. And then she had her, like, spoiler alerts, she had her like mind erased, or she had behavioral therapy put upon her in the end. And it was kind of left open of like, is that bad or is that good? I mean, well, behavioral therapy is bad, but of what you decide about that. But yeah, I don't necessarily want that society where everyone's just the same. That's no fun. I want everyone to be different. And if you, like, to me, if you give the caveat that you are thinking about gender on a 2-point axis, which you definitely don't have to be, for the sake of argument, how a lot of this is presented, one end being male, one being female. There are only 2 people in the world who could call themselves 100% male, 100% female at any given time. If you were thinking on these polls, which again are definitely not 100% accurate at all. and everyone else is somewhere in the middle. And it's like you meet a certain threshold, and you say, well, I feel like a woman. You meet a certain threshold, and you're like, I feel like a man. And then there's the people in the middle that say, I feel non-binary. And to say that we should all just be like right in the dead center, and get rid of any of these tropes is,
Yeah, I hear you. I don't know. I kind of want genders. That's this is gonna be spicy, but I kind of want genders abolished, like gender roles. Like you're a man, you're a woman, you're a non-binary person, and you do you with all of your colors and all of your things, and it doesn't like nothing is expected of you because of your gender expression.
Yeah, I do absolutely believe in that. I don't think. Well, I don't know if I'd say. And this comes down to terminology. It kind of means different things to people. I don't know if I would say gender abolitionist. I don't know if he invented it. EJ actually clued me in on a good word of gender anarchist, which I think is more inclusive than abolitionist. It gives this tinge of that you want, to where you can identify, even if that's not what you mean. So I kind of like the word gender anarchist a little better.
Like I want all traits to be like up for grabs for everyone who wants them, and you make your own combo of traits, of personality traits that are yourself, and it doesn't matter what gender or which position you are in, as long as you're not expected to behave in one or another way.
I think that's a great explanation. Is get rid of expectations. Yeah. Especially clothes for men. Like, I hate that it's. I mean, if you identify as a man, you want to wear any clothes, you should wear them anyways. Or if you identify as anything, any identification. But I would definitely love it if I could wear, like, if I had options. I've got like t-shirts, a blazer, and like a button-up shirt. That's options for the traditional, like male gender role, and that is just no fun, And
also with women's like dress expectations, so much of the time clothes are so unbelievably uncomfortable. It's actually like I don't think a lot of men actually realize, like, especially at the moment it's really fashionable to wear like high-waisted jeans or something, but most of the time as soon as you sit down it like digs into you. You have to unbutton it. It goes like up your crotch like in a really uncomfortable way, or it's like it's really tight, which is uncomfortable, and the material isn't that comfortable. Bras are often really uncomfortable if you want one that makes your boobs look okay. And I don't know, so many like thongs are often really uncomfortable. High heels, stuff like that. Like, I don't know, all of these. I think the expectations of what to wear, and I mean, you don't have to wear clothes that are uncomfortable, but often that means that they don't conform to what is considered to be, attractive at this time. And then and I think that these types of things then hinder how much you want to go out and do stuff, because you're just like, oh, I can't be bothered. I have to shave my legs and put on makeup and wear these clothes. So,
and God, like, that's sorry.
No, that was it. Yeah.
That's another thing that's so insidious, and this is definitely when it comes to gender binaries. It's definitely more. It hurts the female side more. Is this? It's colonized our minds. We think we look unattractive based on, or specifically especially women, believe they look unattractive based on these concepts that are meant to oppress them. And it's like you wouldn't, if that had not existed, you wouldn't feel that that's unattractive. And that's and the same thing happens to me with things like fat shaming and stuff like that. You look in the mirror and you're like, God, I wish I had a better body. You might be perfectly healthy, 100% healthy. It's like, why do you wish you looked hot? Why is who defined that definition of hot?
Yeah, it's so insidious. And often, like, I go to the gym, but it seems to, like, subconsciously it tends to be much more about conforming to a certain body, what I want my body to look like, rather than it actually being healthy, what I'm actually doing. I'll focus a lot on my lower body because I want to have a certain type of butt or something like that. And then I'm just like, what am I doing? I'm conforming to these gender roles. And it's really unhealthy for me to just focus on exercising my lower body and not my upper body. But yeah, I still continue to do it, despite knowing that this is quite unhealthy, because I want to conform. It's like, no matter how leftist or like how much you read about stuff like this, it's so hard to get away from this stuff. And it's also frustrating because it's like you're simultaneously seen as superficial for doing it, but then you're also expected to do it, and if you don't do it, then you're seen as unattractive or whatever. And so it's like a double-edged sword, and then you also feel guilty for conforming to it. So it's like a triple burden that you have to carry, like
it just
triple
keeps piling on those stones.
Yeah,
An absolute catch-22 there. Like, no good answer.
And if you like, I used to be obsessed with losing weight, and then I lost weight, but then your butt or your boobs look bad, and then like, so you try and put on weight, but then you feel like I don't know. It's like this. It's just such an impossible standard to conform to that. Like, yeah, it's really, really frustrating.
I want you to be comfortable, people. Just be happy.
I want everyone to be happy, and like I wish that I could say just stop worrying about that, but that doesn't work.
It
it would be infantilizing and dismissive to say that to expect that. By the way, Key to the Fields had a great comment. Said unisex is a lie when we were talking about clothing, especially women's clothing being uncomfortable.
It's an utopia.
Well, no, I mean the unisex clothing is, I think, what they meant.
Yeah.
Like, there's no such thing.
And
more often than not, it's tailored to fit a man's body instead.
Yeah.
And it just happens to allow a woman's body to kind of work with it.
I mean, work overalls, but they can fit anybody.
It's true. But even then, I wouldn't. I'm not making a statement here,
right?
Yeah, they look like they are meant to fit a man first and foremost, though. Like, I wonder.
Like, most of them are kind of baggy. Maybe you could fit any kind of body in there. Like, but yeah, it's true. It's considered manly by default.
Yeah, but I wonder, and like the straps, I don't know if they could be placed better for someone with larger breasts. I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, sorry, no, carry on.
I was just going to say another comment I saw. Actually, Ski the Fields again said, keep in touch how much clothing has changed over the centuries. Absolutely. There are so many, like, and that this kind of proves how abstract and bullshit the gender roles are. Is like, men used to wear makeup and high heels and like 30 different layers of fancy clothing.
Yeah.
But, like, they would quickly be labeled as like feminine now if they did it.
Like high society people, we the turfs, we use rags always. Rags were used,
but and yet
we're equally.
And yeah, like a lot of it is like classes, but things like, I like capes. Can we please bring capes back? Capes are awesome. I want to wear a cape all the time. I should do it anyways, but there is a stigma. I don't want to also have to worry. Actually, like, even if you're comfortable with a lot of this yourself, you also have to worry about, are you just going to have to deal with, if you go out on a night on your own in these clothes that aren't fitting your, gender role, are you going to have to just deal with people looking at you and explaining all night? You have to think about things like that.
Exactly.
On a practical basis.
Let me just tell you that you should come to Spain in a winter and go to a fancy party, because it's allowed to wear capes.
I'm there. Like, capes are awesome. You can
capes.
They'll have pockets. You put your stuff inside. You keep you warm. Keep your legs warm. You get to I lost.
Think the camera.
You get to flourish as you leave. You get to
yeah.
And it's the same with beauty standards throughout the world and throughout like history as well. Just how much they've changed. Like, people are always talking about about beauty standards. They're just so subjective and objective, and everyone like we can't help what we like, etc. But then when you look at these videos that show different beauty standards throughout history and throughout the globe, it's so different depending on where you live. I mean, there are things that are universally or maybe biologically somehow more considered more attractive, but even then probably not, because there are definitely, a lot of people think, oh well, people are biologically more attracted to fitter bodies, but then there are certain cultures in which it's, if you're a lot bigger, it's seen as much more attractive, or womanly or whatever. So yeah, even even like just
and a lot of like these early human culture civilizations, it was like the like the big women who were considered attractive, and you could make the exact same argument about they're fitter. Why are you okay, then they're good to go hunting with you if they're fitter. That doesn't mean they're necessarily the best to procreate with. Yeah, someone who's got like an ample body for birthing or for breastfeeding, things like that would make more sense if you're going to make that argument. But even then, it kind of proves that it's subjective. Yet it keeps changing, and it goes on the line. It starts to walk the same basis of like phrenology to me. It's just trying to glue on pseudoscience to fit what you want.
Yeah.
It would be great to aim at you do you with your shape, with your personal taste, and you do whatever, and everybody would go like, okay, cool. I mean, I remember when going out with a mohawk, a green mohawk out in the street would cause a scandal, and now it's like, yeah, whatever. Did
you have a mohawk, Javi?
No. I had very long hair though.
I had a reverse mohawk for one day when I was in Thailand, really? I was in Thailand and they use a 220 volt instead of a 110 volt, which is what my hair, because I shaved my head, my hair clippers were, and my hair was much longer than it is now. It was, as for a bald person, it was long. And I got one trim in right in the center, and then it blew out from the voltage, and I had to walk around all day with one stripe missing.
That's cool.
And I had to go to like 3 stores to try and find a new clippers. I was just walking around town.
Keep an eye on voltages, comrades. Keep an eye on voltages always.
Oh my god. I with the whole thing though of what Javi you were saying about, you do you, everyone does their own thing kind of thing. I like the sentiment, but I think this is something that I have seen, it keeps coming up so much more in mainstream feminist type of discourse. It's just like all this stuff of, to be a feminist, can you be a feminist and wear makeup? Can you be a feminist and shave your legs? And like, it's always really promoting these kind of individualistic forms of feminism that's just like, you as an individual go own your leg hair or don't wear makeup, and that and I'm not saying that those things are insignificant. I think that's can be really powerful and very brave, but just the fact that it's always so focused on these individualistic things, like ultimately nothing's going to change unless we focus on the system. And I mean, again, you can do both individual and systemic.
Of course. For there to have for there to be like individual freedom, there needs to be no pressures, no outside systemic pressures in the first place, which is where we need to aim.
Yeah, I think maybe how I read that, Javi, was that was kind of like what you want. That's the goal, is for everyone to just be able to do what they do them.
Yeah, that would be like an ideal place to be in eventually. I think Kathrin.
We lose Kathrin?
I think we lost Kathrin.
She seems frozen. Now it's just 2 cis guys on International Women's Day.
But because of technical issues, to be honest, I'm loving that in the stream, Kathrin is, telling us so many good things, and and also 2 cis guys who look very alike.
One cis guy in 2 pictures.
Is this one guy pretending It's two different guys.
Javi's just really good at ventriloquism or at, I don't know, double takes.
We're just one guy moving very fast.
Oh, now's our chance to mansplain feminism. It's not mansplaining if there's not a woman to talk over.
Yeah, we're mansplaining to each other.
Yeah.
Which
I think that's just called patting on the back.
Being clones of the same mothership, it's like kind of pointless. Let's wait for Kathrin to come back.
Yeah, I just saw the chat that her phone died. Yeah.
Okay. By the way, Michaela, it would be awesome that you could join us. Actually, we have a free spot, and we'd like to hear you actually talk about these issues, because
now that we got rid of Kathrin,
the evil man, the Seasman, Seasman technology attack.
She pissed off the patriarchy, the cyber patriarchy. They took her out.
Maybe you can join on voice only and with a computer or something like that. I'll send you the link to the call, Michaela, so you can join us, because it'd be awesome to have you on. Copy link to share. I'm going to Twitter, Michaela. I'm going to Twitter.
Guest in Paul is sick.
Yeah,
unfortunately, and evidently he has too much hair. We have equal amounts of hair. We just keep it down here.
Yeah,
I don't know. Well, Paul's got a pretty good beard as well. So
yeah, definitely. Paul has like a hair for all of us. The long, glorious hair. Long.
I mean, maybe we all have the same amount of hair. His is just up here. And I'm not showing my butt on screen,
Yeah, we shouldn't tell where the rest of the hair is.
I'm a hobbit. It's all on my feet.
So there's so much to unpack with this business of gender, and I'd like to shout out to our non-binary people as well.
Definitely. And it is kind of weird. It at least seemed more cut and dry before I started to understand a little more of gender spectrum and non-binary folk and such. At least it used to be. It was more cut and dry. And usually, when something seems cut and dry, that means you're doing it incorrectly, or you need to educate more on it. So that's where I was. Is like it seemed like, well, this is the problem facing women. This is the problem facing men. That's all there is, or this is the things men are doing. That's all there is. But yeah, it is so much more complicated than that.
It kind of seems like
different versions of oppression.
Power likes to split us in different categories, so we're more split, more divided, more one group against the other, and the people, the powers on top, just laughing at us, fighting each other
and that
like idiots.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense too. With like, if everyone starts saying, well, gender is a social construct, we don't have to adhere to this, and everyone starts having their different kind of methods and identities, then the whole binary that's trying to force upon us is like men versus women, or any binary really, it starts to break down and they start to lose power.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's one of the key reasons why there's this, backlash and disgust amongst like, right wing or conservative people against gender studies.
Bigots freak out.
Gender critical.
It's like they can't wrap their head around it, and when they do, it scares them so much that they backlash with a rage.
Yeah,
it makes sense. That non-binary people who suffer, oppression not from only the side of the bigots, but also from the side of the stupid TERFs, and from the side of the binary people who can't wrap their head around
and
their existence.
I think a lot of the reason why they can't wrap their head is or why is the backlash is if they can't wrap their head around, they can't understand it, and they fear what they don't understand, but also, and this is probably not consciously, if you don't understand something, you have less ability to control it, and keep things the way you want it, which is the kind of, the back to the 50s when a man knew how to be a man, or a woman knew how to be a woman, because you understood that, and you can control the situation, especially for the people in control, which would be like, on the male side. But when this all starts getting mixed up, and when I say 50s, I should say like 50s America. That's what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
When it starts getting all, we start to break it down, and we start to kind of mix up what gender roles mean. It freaks them out, and they're like, well, I don't know how to handle that. I don't know how to keep that in place,
Yeah.
Do we have audio?
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Hello, yes.
Yo, Michaela,
welcome. Hey. Hi.
Welcome.
Oh God, I haven't. Oh God, rookie mistake. Sorry, I haven't. Okay, I have turned off the stream yet. Sorry.
I do that almost every stream.
Oh, okay, good. Feel better now.
Well, also YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, you can't. Like if you start off a stream, you can't change the volume until you actually go live. It won't give you the volume knob. So you have to start off with it blaring.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, so
anyway,
let me introduce you people to Michaela Schmidt. She makes amazing videos about gardenery. I love the video about Cuba that you did about the monoculture. That was fantastic.
I started reading a book about politics and gardening, and it had like one tiny paragraph about Cuba, and it just like took off from me. Like for like 3 weeks, I was so obsessed with urban agriculture in Havana, and then I made a video about it, and it's really interesting, and I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. The whole thing about being like a grassroots thing that had to be adopted eventually by the government because it was the right thing to do in the first place. It's like duh.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's also such a like utopian idea, kind of like because Cuba was so. Because they were basically caught between this like U.S. trade embargo and the crumbling of the Soviet Union, and basically they were just sat there going like, oh, what do we do? And people just, you know what? We're gonna plant some potatoes. That's what we're gonna do.
Well, anytime you're confused, go garden.
Exactly.
It's very relaxing.
Exactly, and it's good for your physical health and your mental health. It's nothing but good things.
There you go. Michaela, can you maybe drop your links in the chat or something like that, and I'll check it out. Yeah,
I try to link you to your channel because I have like the superpower of the guy with the channel. Okay, I'm working on it. In the meantime, you good people keep digging into the depths of feminism as a liberatory movement.
I'm reading the chat. I keep seeing these great comments, and it's always Key to the Fields. You're on fire. It says, "Help! My computer only understands binary." We have to abolish binary code.
Yeah, from now on, only hex.
Oh yeah. Yeah, at least you get 16 different.
Let's go
roles.
Fully alphabetical. There you go. This is the link. Everyone in the chat. Well, it come with a little bit of a delay, but don't worry, Kathrin. You know, when your phone comes back to life, feel free to rejoin the call. In the meantime, we're in very good company.
Yes, we are missing you.
Oh yes.
Yeah, Kathrin is awesome. We got so many good people. We got the best of the best in here. I'm so happy with you people.
Don't let Paul hear that.
Well,
Paul,
actually, Paul, besides having epic hair that we've been talking about it in the chat, I love that Lorca Nagel said like about being right out of the saloon. Right out of the saloon. Look. But Paul is a little bit sick and couldn't join us today. But Paul is super high quality too. Just saying.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah.
I just today, watched his video he put out yesterday, day before, which was right about what we were talking about feminism and where should men kind of have a say or speak up, not have a say, but like speak up when involving feminist issues. And it's super spot on. So I'm assuming all of you already know about Paul in the chat, but if you don't, go check it out. And if you do know him, go check out the video.
Yeah.
And Kathrin's actually in that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's with Kathrin and Mexi and Matt Blender.
Matt Blender, yeah. Yeah, it's really good. Really good stuff.
Yeah, he pulled an all-star crew in there, right?
Yeah, I'm impressed.
So I don't know. I'm always a little bit. It doesn't look like it because you and I have been even talking, like when Kathrin dropped out of the call, kept talking about feminism. But I'm actually super, careful to try not to talk about feminism too much, because I know it's not my place. Leadership and the main voice should be still carried by women, even when it's something that pertains to us all.
Absolutely. And I think, well, you should talk about this
one.
Oh, let me tell you about win-win.
Speaking of mansplaining, anyways, no, I also wanted to say that, like, I hope men don't feel like, that they can't talk about feminism, because first of all, like, gender binary, all these things, like, they affect men too. Also, a lot of, misogynist, sexist men don't want to hear about feminism from women. So, for men to normalize talking about feminism and talking about these issues is actually really important.
That's a very good angle, actually. Yeah.
And even if they on the lines of they don't want to hear it from a woman, it's harder if they don't want to hear from anybody. Mm-hmm. It's still harder to defend against, for themselves. It's hard to refute if they're hearing it from another man. Mm-hmm. You lose a lot of your attack methods. You're just an angry. It's like, no, I'm a guy. Yeah. Can't use that one. So it disarms them a lot when you do that.
This awful thing that they do, like, are you on your period? Is like,
oh God,
piece of shit. What a piece of shit. What are you, like 12? Piece of shit. Shit.
One good thing. So don't clip this. One good thing about having Trump as president is this kind of and my career as YouTube is over. It's very much pointing out how wrong, how much of a fallacy that argument is. Like, well, if a woman was president and it was on her period and she would go do something crazy, you mean like every day in the White House right now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
From a man.
Yeah, and it's also showing us how toxic masculinity can be from a cartoonish kind of perspective.
Yeah,
and how
kind of sad ignorance about women, because the average age of a president, even if it was a woman, she probably would not have a period anymore.
Yeah, I guess I never even thought about that. That's
yep.
I never made that argument like on that side. Yeah, I never thought about that. That's a very good point.
Yeah, all of us who have like bodily issues, we should get a robot body and get it over and done with.
Javi is a full-on transhumanist confirmed.
Definitely.
I'm okay with that. I want robot arms.
I want to be uploaded to the cloud.
I want to become Daniel R. Olivo there, except for the cop part, which was pointed out. But being a robot that lives like several thousand years and goes on and watches humanity change over the millennia and go like, oh, okay, this is nice.
And when you say change, do you mean just burn on its own destruction?
Yeah,
capitalist hellscape.
That didn't happen in Asimov's books, but yeah, I mean, in this case, yeah, Well, I'll see humanity die and then revel on my loneliness until my battery dies.
Speaking speaking of Asimov and wanting to die, I just watched I, Robot again for the first time in like 15 years since it first came out, whatever it was. Oh my god.
What a betrayal to
It's
the
so
book, right?
bad.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the movie.
Yeah.
It was the book is amazing, but the movie is just so
It just picks
horrible.
like some names from the book and a couple of scenes from the book and then makes its own Hollywood bullshit.
Put Will Smith in it. Yeah.
I think everything that has Will Smith in it is like, because he was also on what was the name of this post-apocalyptic,
Oh, Second
the
Earth
one
or
with the
Earth
dog?
2?
the one that they made like Omega Man with Charlton Heston, and because but the
Oh
book
no,
was I Am Legend. I Am Legend.
I Am Legend.
Ah, yeah.
I Am Legend.
Yeah, but he was. I mean, he gets like really anything that guy, poor guy, is in it is like very good concept, and then they drag it through the mud.
They really do, yeah. And I kind of led this on a tangent. That's nothing to do with it. But yeah, he actually. I mean, if you like watch Ali, he has some acting talent, but it could be his own choices or just bad luck. I don't know, whatever. But there's a lot of not good movies with him in it.
Didn't he do like Independence Day and then Wild Wild West? Like
Yes.
within 1 or 2 years, and like ever since then it's been sort of okay.
Somebody, was it Sean? Someone did a great breakdown of how horrible Wild Wild West is, and like how like racist it is.
Yeah.
Wasn't Kevin Smith who had this monologue about when he tried to make Superman and he had to fight with the producer because the producer was twisting everything he was trying to do into something ridiculous and awful, and then talked about the giant spider because I want a giant spider on it, and apparently that became kind of Wild Wild West when he
Oh, is that
top.
how that concoction was
Yeah, I think
unleashed?
it's somewhere there on YouTube. Kevin Smith talking about his attempt at making a Superman movie,
And it ended up as wow.
Yeah.
Well, they got their giant spider, so that's all that's important.
Why? How did we get here?
Yeah, I mentioned. Oh, you mentioned Asimov, and I mentioned.
Yeah.
I don't even know how we got on start on that. Sci-fi will lead you down a long pipeline, people.
Yeah, sci-fi is wonderful because it makes us imagine things. Yeah,
Oh,
possibilities.
I think we'll look back on this as sci-fi as being like one of the most important literary contributions of like the 20th century, or well, if you consider Frankenstein, 19th. But yeah, it allows you to set this new world so you can pose these theoretical ideas or conflicts, and yeah, it's just this beautiful way of planning out and showing these different concepts.
Yeah, I hear you there.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Okay, back on
you
track.
were gray. I thought I lost you.
back on track. Let's go back to feminism.
Yes.
It's International Women's Day. But do you think like International Women's Day, it's only about the women, or is it about feminism in general, or what's going on in there? Because I'm under the impression, that mostly in Spain, from what I'm getting, and when I used to live in Poland, it was more or less the same. It was a celebration of feminism, and not just a celebration, like it hasn't lost the combative edge, right? It's about reivindication of this equality that we still haven't achieved, even though liberals and neoliberals are so eager to tell us that we have, right? So what do you think? What do you people think that that we need to conquer? And if International Women's Day is about just the women, or is it about feminism in general?
I'm wondering what the roots of the day are. Actually, I'm not really sure. Like a lot of people know where Labor Day came from, on May 1st. But I really don't know. I know that there is technically an International Men's Day in like September or something like that, and it's just. Michaela, did we lose you again?
No, no, I'm here.
Oh, you were just like perfectly still, and then your eyes blinked.
Oh, God.
You were just so still, and then I saw your eyes move.
Awesome. That's a superpower.
I was powered down, sorry.
She's like Drax.
I mean, the origins are a little bit uncertain and a little bit contested, I guess. Because some people say it's about that strike on that textile factory, but people. I read on Wikipedia, which is okay, not a best source, but I'm lazy, like sue me. That that it was a little bit contested because apparently the origins was in the Soviet Union and doesn't agree very much with the narrative of the Americans leading feminism, which never happened.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But Rosa Luxemburg is a little bit also like very intertwined with the first Women's Day celebration. So whatnot.
Okay.
I'm really torn about International Women's Day because like the two things I saw on my timeline today, like I think like the first two posts was one like an announcement about a demonstration about like the Working Women's Day and like a demonstration by a union, and then the second was an ad from H&M saying that like 7 out of 14 of their like leading positions are taken by women, which is sort of like I'm really glad there's more women exploiting women. Yay. Good.
Do you smell
Super.
that? Do you smell
Yeah.
that? I think I smelled recuperation.
Yeah. More women CEOs is not liberating. Feminist liberation.
The thing is, the 8th of March here in Spain, it's leading like a lot of. It has like a lot of political momentum. It has I think the Women's March, this 8th of March last year and the year before were leading. We're leading politically hugely. So I don't know, but I don't know how you feel it in your locales and how I want to ask you.
Yeah. I think it really depends, like locally, what to do with it, because like a lot of it is, companies trying to advertise to women that like, yeah, we're woke, and it's like doing the Pride Month, sort of like painting something with a rainbow, and on Women's Day they just like stick a woman in the on the front of the ads.
Oh, have you seen the Shell commercial?
Oh God, I still have.
So
I will never calm down about that.
Oh, it's so gross. And they didn't even, and it was completely token. Like it didn't even, they didn't even say, oh, we've been doing this work for women and try to like do something to prove it. It was just, look at all these women.
And like going into it blind, and I was sitting there like, oh, that's nice, that's brilliant, that's she's gonna be supported and she's gonna be bloody done, and Shell, like,
like Renee says in the chat, is like more Margaret Thatchers. Muy buena esa, Renee. Oh, that was a good one.
Someone I tweeted that Shell video, and someone did like the more female-led ecocide.
Yeah. We have so much to learn and so much to unlearn, so much to learn from intersectional feminism and radical feminism that is intersectional, of course, trans inclusionary. And you would say?
No, I would say, and Michaela, feel free to coach me if this doesn't sound right, but I would say for like you should do this with any opportunity of remembrance or a day of recognition. Use it, make it a goal to like reflect on what maybe you've been doing, and also to specifically speak out for other people. of whatever the issue is. Because I do think especially with just what we're seeing with like Shell and all these corporations, it is this the danger of having a day is that it becomes a day, and it's like that one day that Shell says they love women, or whatever, or H&M says they've got 10 CEOs or whatever, and then tomorrow it's back to usual. So that is the dangers of having like a day as people use as a scapegoat. So I would say use it as a day to up your game. In this case, with feminism. Yeah,
I mean, like there is a danger that like Women's Day just turns into like, you know, in between Pancake Day and I don't know, take your daughter to work day.
Yeah.
But if you take that, but they like there is like, you know, there's a lot of like posts on Twitter, and people are open to like there's a conversation happening, and yeah, you should add to that. But also make sure that, you know, you don't forget to have that conversation the rest of the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I hear you.
And I would say that
take your daughter to work day and Graham Lynn.
Also, is there a Pancake Day?
I think so. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Pancake Day.
Is that sugar withdrawal?
I still get sugar. I could do with less sugar. I quit caffeine though.
Yeah. How's it going? Because
it's been, I feel a lot better. Yeah. I used for the first like week I was just having just constant migraine.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that's why.
But I had to get up early to catch a train back to Taipei this morning, and I was just sitting there and I was like, man, coffee would be really good right now. But I withheld. I was good.
Nice.
That's good. Yeah, you know, sugar, fat, and salt are like nutritional drugs. They're very addictive, and it's the way that processed food is done right now. Because it's okay to have sugar and fat and salt in your diet. It's just the way processed foods are. They give you like a punch of that one vector, whichever, or couple of them at a time. Sometimes, like when you have French fries, it's fat and salt, but you have like a pancake, it's or something very sweet, and sometimes it's sugar and fat. There's like a couple of these vectors sometimes go like boom, and then your brain goes like, I like this, give me more, and then you're fucked, because it's also food, but you know, when it's so unbalanced, where there's not enough fiber, or you know, when people don't eat their veggies. And when you're living in food deserts, where all the food you can buy is bullshit that you buy in a 7-Eleven, that's fucked up. Then you're gonna have a real problem. But that's the United States.
Well, I was gonna say I'm really fortunate here. There is a lot of vegetarian cuisine, especially like in Vietnam and Thailand. There's tons. Oh, Thai vegetarian food and Thai curry is
yeah.
Vegan pad Thai with the tofu and the I'm drooling.
But it is so cheap versus a lot of places like America. Yeah, if you want to be healthy, you've got to go to Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, and you've got to pay just, you know, half your salary on a shopping list, and it's not feasible for a lot of people.
I think Elizabeth Warren was born in Whole Foods. She sprouted there from an overpriced organic something and went like, I'm gonna be neoliberal now.
Elizabeth Warren has aggressive Whole Foods energy.
Whole Foods energy. I love it.
I also wanted to say about nutrition, that there's also like a real problem with like the places where agriculture is done and the places where the food is good are usually like, especially like in the US, very different places, like especially like in the Midwest where a lot of agriculture happens. There's actually a real problem with people getting fresh fruits and vegetables in the supermarket. Meanwhile, like on the coast in California, everything all day, every day, brilliant fresh vegetables. but there's like a whole swath of the country where that's actually like literally not available. So even if you try, you might not be able to. And also, like malnutrition apparently is becoming an issue in those places, because like even if you're like completely like disengaged from body weight, you might be overweight, but still like be lacking nutrients because the food that's available to you is just so bad.
Yeah, I would venture to say, I would guess that might even be more often the case than not.
Mm-hmm.
That people who are overweight due to just dietary issues, not any other genetic things or anything like that, are probably lacking in nutrients, at least in some area. Like, yeah, you can be full and not give your body much of anything.
Yeah. And to bring it back to women, that's also a problem with like pregnancy, because it's really taxing on the body. So when you're like badly fed, that's actually like health issues for both the mother and the baby.
Yeah, that makes great sense.
Shit, I hadn't even put dangerous.
That. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I know TV and the media keep on telling us that the United States is like the most powerful country in the world, and it's like the democracy, the most perfect democracy in the world. I cannot say this without laughing, but they keep telling us those things. But it's actually a very dangerous, ridiculously dangerous and hostile place to live. So. Yes. Much love and respect to the people who are dealing and coping with the awful way of life of the United States, where you don't have like social security, and you don't have like you don't eat properly. You're in danger every time, all the time. So sorry.
And to take it back to when Kathrin was asking me, or when we were talking about how Americans don't tend to leave. You know, an old figure is really old now, so it's probably changed. But at one point, it was like 14% of Americans even have a passport, like ever even applied for a passport. And that's also ingrained in it. That's another reason, is that we're taught that, like, it just becomes common sense. It's just, well, everyone knows that American democracy is the best, and you know, China, and which, by the way, I lived in China for 5 years, and I'm not a fan of Chinese government, but you know, China and Japan and Saudi Arabia and all these other kind of boogeymen are proof that everyone else is doing it wrong, and the good ones are just trying to copy us. And yeah, super dangerous, and it becomes, we start to get this like infantilizing, you know, protector role, that we think we're the best, we're the world police, and
the Monroe Doctrine, right? That we are the police of the world.
Yeah, and so many people, like when I can't talk anything, even I can't even talk about Bernie Sanders. Like, I can't even go that far left with my mom or my dad, because it's not even, it gets so ingrained that I might as well be talking about a chicken running for president or whatever, you know, like they can't even fathom this idea of what I'm talking about, because they've just been living in America and kind of fed this concept their whole lives. And that's so dangerous. You know?
We need the Black Panthers back.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I just learned, and I don't have pretty much any information on this, but I just learned about the White Panthers today.
Okay.
That were like white allies of they were good, so evidently. They were the white allies supporting Black Panther and kind of using their privilege to push the Black Panthers message.
Cool.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Yeah.
We should have the Pink Panthers as well.
Oh man, that could be like the LGBTQ agenda, or no, I guess that'd be the feminist agenda. Yeah.
Sorry to rain on the parade. Pink Panther has been like claimed by like Nazis in Germany.
No.
Yeah.
Why? No.
Yeah. Sorry. He's like the Pepe in Germany. Sorry.
Oh shit. So too bad. I mean, I used to go with the Pink Panthers. There was like this collective that we used to go to Pride when I was young. Every Pride parade before it became like absolutely colonialized and recuperated by capitalism. Pride used to be like a more, you know, more revolutionary thing to go to.
Yeah,
And we used to march with we did like a black block, but a pink block, and it was the Pink Panthers. That was the name of the collective.
Nice.
And we used to support them a lot. We used to hang out with those people a lot, actually, and social centers and so on. But I'm telling you,
Awesome.
I'm talking about, this is truly grandpa level story, like 20 years ago kind of thing. 20 years ago, yeah. And this is the internet. Last month is history.
Yeah.
Just go figure. 20 years ago, right? But we were the Pink Panthers, and the Pink Panther was also the mascot of Centro Social Seco. That was in Vallecas, in one of the southern neighborhoods in Madrid. Then they used to be like this social center that was like a squad at the beginning, and then they got like because they were very good at dealing with local politicians and stuff. They got like a little, they had a building allocated for them in Vallecas by the city. But at the beginning they started like a squad, but they changed the law in Spain, and because they were usually what it used to be is like you could go squat a place and make a social center, and nobody could kick you off, because you were the occupant of the building, even when you're not having like a rent contract or whatever, because the building was abandoned, and you had like a claim not to the property of the building, but to the occupation and the usage of the building. And it was like a legal void there, and they couldn't kick us up. And I think it was in 96 or something, they changed the law so they could kick people out of the empty buildings too. And then the squat movement went downhill, but it was fantastic. I mean, this poster I have here is from Minuesa. It's like the second or third squat that happened in Madrid. That was like a social center. That was this is 1980s kind of thing. So yeah. Sorry.
Back I was
back 6. To the Pink Panthers.
No, that's awesome. I hadn't heard about that. But then everything gets ruined. I guess that's part of the insidiousness of all it takes is like a couple of Nazis to be like, we like this now.
Yep.
Now it's ruined.
I think it was literally like 3 Nazis made that happen. The NSU, like on their the video they sent to the police, that was like clips from Pink Panther, like interspersed in there, and then like the Nazis just ran with that.
Yeah. We need to have like somebody smart needs to come up with that means absolutely not me, but maybe one of you guys or something else, someone else, but should come up with effective plans to reverse recuperations, to take things back. An effective intellectual solution for that recuperation bullshit and all the stuff that they're stealing, from us at the left, like the Pink Panther, like the Pride, like the Women's Day is being recuperated right now by capitalism. So you people are smart. You can come up with things. I'm pretty sure. No, not right now, but yeah. I mean.
Well, I'd say as far as like mascots and memes go, when somebody kind of takes that to the right, I say everyone just needs to start flooding and using it and making it like as gay as possible or as girly as possible, just everything they hate, and just start flooding the market and go. If you are willing, I'm not, but if you even go in any of the message boards that they're on or anything like that, be just like, that's awesome. I use it too.
Yeah, like we at the left did with Greedy, this hockey team mascot. Yeah. Comrade Greedy says,
"Eat your landlord."
Eat your landlord. That is fantastic.
Just make it sour to them, make them not want it anymore.
Yeah, definitely. We need all of them with a black flag and so on. Black and red flags and everywhere, and super non-binary and gay be gay, do crime with those mascots. Good people, we've been going on for about 2 hours. Time flies when you're having fun. You were saying?
It wasn't really important. I don't know where I end, but
go for it anyway.
Actually, that was a sticker pack that that Non-Compete was supposed to send me. Taiwan is the first Asian country. Yes, it's a country to get to have legalized gay marriage in Asia, and it was this big debate for about a year. And during that time, Non-Compete had these like anarcho kitty stickers that said "Be gay, do crime," and I ordered like 50 of them, and I was just going to put them all over the city. And he was so delayed, he never got them to me until after the law had already passed. I was like, well, I mean, I'm glad it passed. I'm glad it wasn't needed, but like, I don't do any good now. I still put them up though.
Taiwan must be awesome.
Taiwan, yeah, there's a lot of problems. I'm actually planning on doing a video. It's a dim sock, or a sock dim, sorry. So it's got a lot of great things in it, but it is definitely far from socialist, or far from communist. And also, unfortunately, because there's such bad blood between mainland China here, saying communist specifically to them means the Chinese Communist Party, and that really will make them sour away from you. So yeah, it's a difficult thing to explain leftist ideology in person in Taiwan.
Are you in touch with Taiwanese comrades over there?
I know a few comrades here, but none Taiwanese. Again, it's indoctrinated them that communism is bad because communism is China. So when you mention it, it automatically turns them off. The only one I know is actually, well, I've never met them, but the only person I'm in touch with on like Twitter and such lives in the States now. So I've never actually met them. They moved away like right around the time I started becoming public. So unfortunately, I haven't actually met them in person.
Our German comrades are healthy though, right?
Yeah, I think so. I just had like a similar problem as you have in Taiwan. Like when I like mentioned socialism, people say, "Oh, you want the GDR? You want the Stasi back? Is that what you want?" So generally, I like do like advocate for socialism, just not ever call it that.
Yeah. That's a great strategy that I try to stick to, especially when I'm talking in person, is talk about the ideals and goals. And it's pretty, like, it's hard to fight against them when you just kind of lay them out like that without any terminology attached. It's like, well, yeah, of course. Yeah, everyone work together. No one has to starve. Okay, yeah, I buy that. It's like, yeah. Like, if you wanted to own someone, then you'd be like, yeah, that's called communism. But yeah, I don't recommend that because we're trying to welcome people.
Yeah. I mean,
it's great that it's such a like universal experience that like all people hate their boss and all people hate their landlords, and that's sort of like common ground we all share.
The Soviet Union had its good things and a lot of bad things and they wanted to keep the communist brand, and they spoiled the communist brand as a brand. Not communism as an idea, that's still awesome, but the brand as a brand, because of all of the authoritarian and the bureaucratic aspects of it, because of the Slavic characteristics of dominance and being strong and being not super flexible, But that's why I always say we need to advocate for a new Soviet Union with Mediterranean characteristics. Much more
and
chilled.
Mediterranean food.
Yeah, there you go. With more olive oil, more relaxed. When do you need this? Mañana. Mañana, comrade. Don't worry about it. What?
You'd be surprised how Spanish Vietnam is. Everyone has a siesta. Like everyone has their personal hammock. Like especially all like the workers or day laborers, things like that. They will all have like in their motorbike like their own hammock. Come like noon to 3, they'll just whip it out at any random, like anywhere. There's like hooks on every front porch and everything of every business and everything. People just set up like, time for a nap.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, but you know, we should be like the Vietnamese, Soviet, but you know, taking it easy.
Chill.
With no, you said it, chill, absolutely.
I think EJ's mentioned this before, but like Vietnam is, from my experience, is more anarchist than it ever has been MLM. You know, like there is a central party, but as far as day-to-day activities go, like everyone's just handling it themselves. Everyone is you know, kind of taking care of their own and working things out. The government rarely has to get involved with issues. Like it's surprisingly anarchist.
Yeah, well, I need to learn Vietnamese.
Oh, I can't say anything. I could say Xin Chao, which is
hello. Yeah,
and Gamon, which is thank you.
That's a start.
That'll, just those two things will get you far. So
yeah, I remember once when my mom was visiting me, and I used to live in Krakow in Poland, and I taught her to say good morning and thank you. So dzień dobry and dziękuję. And it was like she was saying good morning to everybody out in the street. Dzień dobry. Dzień dobry. So, Mom, don't talk to people. Don't talk to strangers.
Mom, it's 9 o'clock at night.
This is the North. People don't talk to each other. This is different. But yeah.
That being said, anyone out there who is traveling, take a little bit of effort to learn just a few phrases. It'll take you so far when traveling. People really appreciate it, even if they know, even if you screw it up, even if you're Hobby's mom, you know, they really appreciate it.
You know, my mom she has no brakes. She goes like all the way. I remember, you know, losing her in Poland for a while and at a hardware store because I was doing something, these type of big hardware stores like Leroy Merlin and all of those. And I was looking for something for the house or something. I lost her for a moment, and she was talking with some Polish store attendant in Spanish. And you saw the guy heavily in trouble, very shy, trying to
panicking,
trying to nod at her. Like, I don't understand the word that was these ladies talking to me, but it's like, Mom, come back here. Yeah, I'm the grown up when we go out together.
That's life goals right there, to be the child in the relationship with your children.
Yeah. Yeah, she succeeded in that to my despair sometimes. Yeah, taking her on an international trip. I remember we going to Argentina and we had to stop by in London. For most of one day, and because we had like a long layover, so I was like, okay, let's go to Gatwick and catch a train and go to London and spend the day. and she was mentioning Brexit out loud all the time. It's like, Mom, don't. Oh, that's an open wound. Yeah, stuff like that. Oh, my God. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it. I know what it is to be a parent without having to be one.
She's getting back at you for the first 10 years of your life.
Yeah, I was very nice. She should do that to my sister, not to me. She was the nasty one. I was my usually I got in the corner and I found some paper to read, and I sat there in the corner reading something, and that was or a few toys, and I put them in order, and I was very quiet, this very quiet kid, you know, probably my few autistic markers, I guess, you know. I didn't need to make a mess of things, except for once I think I flooded a balcony because I was like, oh, these
I think there's a
pieces,
story here.
yeah, it's like, should they float if I pour a lot of water? And I saw this bucket, for it's like, okay, let's do it. Ooh, they float. It's, what are you doing? So yeah, there's that. So okay, people, we've been going on for a little bit over 2 hours. So I think we're gonna wrap it up if you don't mind. You have any closing words? Anything you want to say? Michaela, you're on stream on the screen.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun.
Yeah, it's so good to hang out. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward. Do you have some new video down the pipeline?
I'm currently like in a weird place because like in the garden like nothing's really grown yet, so I'm kind of like waiting for stuff to grow so I can cook with it.
You need to come down to Taiwan. There is never a not growing season.
Oh God, that would be like amazing.
It's so hot
Like,
and humid here.
yeah. But I'm probably gonna make some sage candies for like sore throats soon, because coronavirus and home remedies.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool. Looking forward to it. Everybody go check Michaela's channel. She's awesome through and through. There.
Yes.
I leave it in the chat.
I'm happy to officially meet you.
Yeah, it was really great.
Yeah. Good connections. Awesome comrades. That's a Socialist Sunday stream in a nutshell. Breadbeard, do you have something you wanna talk about before we wrap this up?
No, just remember to kind of check yourself once in a while and make sure you're not doing harm, or do what you can to minimize that. And on the other side of that, actually, in Javi, we've spoken this before, is I'm getting ready to start up a big project promoting some different Antifa activists to raise money for the Antifa International Defense Fund. Defense, the British spelling with a C. So go just Google. I can put the link in the chat, actually.
Yeah, go for it.
They are trying to raise funds for helping people who
I'm gonna
need.
make you both admins, actually. How do you add moderator and add moderator so you can post links and stuff? Add moderator.
Okay, that'd be good. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, good. Yeah, and that is just straight direct aid. That's not even like the money that you donate goes to a pot that goes to that is then divvied out to activists in need from different medical bills or legal troubles. Like that is just direct aid. So
yeah, support the
troops.
troops.
We'll be kicking off a big thing for that.
Support the troops.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah, the real troops.
Exactly, the troops that are worth shit. Poor guys, because troops in armies around the world, they're also victims. Reminds me a little bit like the episode of Picard where he goes like, "Oh, I figured out they're also okay." No spoilers.
Okay. I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, let's say that the drones are also victims. So we cannot consider them enemies. So same with the soldiers of armies around the world.
Absolutely, yeah.
So there.
And it's the poor who fight the wars, not the rich. So most of especially at least in America, most of them are just trying to find a way to get a job or get college paid for. So and it's not an excuse if you kill someone that's still on you, but we can understand what led them to there and what kind of misinformation that they've been, brainwashed to think.
Poor people between a rock and a hard place. So there's that.
So, yeah. But yeah, I'm happy to be on. I'm glad I finally got to have a time where I could get on.
Yes.
Usually it's like 4 a.m. for me.
Yeah.
So I rarely get to actually watch it live.
That's like me trying to join Unidos or the Slowdown. It's like not gonna happen.
Times are weird.
Oh yeah, time zones suck.
Hey, flat earthers, fix this. Why are we having this problem?
We need time traveling technology. But we'll get there eventually. When in 2,000 years or something. I'll see it because I'll have a robot body and I'll be there.
You'll be watching us all.
Yeah. Okay, good people. So it's been a pleasure and an honor to have you both. Also, Kathrin, who's not with us right now because of, technology issues, and a big hug to Paul, who's recovering from his sicknesses, but he'll be fine very soon. Oh, so good to chat with you. I'm gonna call it for now and press the end stream button, and we're gonna chat for a little bit longer off the air. Thank you everybody in the chat. Thank you for showing up, for being with us, and for being awesome. Have a good one. More fun and games next Sunday. Bye.
Bye, folks.
Bye.
Cyborgs.